All right, y'all. Today we're looking at this boudoir photography business, and for its local searches, city searches, we're going to see if it has BSS. So we're back here in the GBC universe, where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. And more about that, pinned video, home post, somewhere on this profile. And this is because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph here in white. Over on the left, we got the highest intent peeps, Google searchers, social searchers, searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city today, right now. Focus on talk about BSS here in all our videos. Over on the right, we got the lowest intent peeps, peeps that ain't searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. And actually, most of them have no idea what the heck boudoir even is. We reach them through interruption ads on Instagram and Facebook. And we talk about that over on our sister brand, profiles, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And over there, we currently only work with boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. All right, so BSS is boudoir search sameness. That is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. If we got 0 slots on page 1 on Google, man, we're basically already dead here. Because we now have the data, we know that approximately 80% of Google searches never even never even go to page 2. They're page 1 and done searches only. So approximately 80% of the marketplace. So that's the bulk of the marketplace. So we're invisible to 4/5 of people from page 2 or deeper. So we got to get on page 1. But 1 slot on page 1, that ain't enough. Because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1, which means, if there's 9 other boudoir photographers, everyone's got 1 slot. Everyone looks the same. No one stands out. So guess what? A buyer is simply going to click down through everyone, open everyone's website, do price quotes, price shop, price compare, negotiate, and that kills our margins. And since we're not, we don't look any different, we do not want either of these scenarios. Now, 0 slots on page 1 Google is actually not normal. It is the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are market saturation. So that's, more boudoir photographers entering the marketplace every single week, it seems like. Basically, anytime anyone gets a new new iPhone or new camera, new gear, they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. They're throwing a website saying they shoot boudoir, and they are throwing up they're posting them on Facebook groups saying they're now for boudoir photo shoots. So the same number of sellers, or large number of sellers to the same number of buyers, means it's harder for every single seller. Margins compress, people disappear. And so everyone really understands market saturation. It happened in a big way with COVID. People lost their jobs, so they still had to work. Everyone's got a phone with a great camera. Okay, easy to start a boudoir photography business. Market saturation. Now, the one most people don't know about is the false belief of page 1 equality. So it seems like a lot of boudoir photographers simply kind of, passively accept that, as a boudoir photographer, you're going to get either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. But what actually happens is, let's say you got 1 slot on page 1 on Google, you're on like slot 8. A few new boudoir photographers into the market pushes our website back to slot, whatever, somewhere on page 2. And boudoir photographers are like, oh, well, that's how it is. You normally get either 0 or 1 slots page 1 on Google, and that's simply how it is. And this is 100% incorrect. And I know this because I went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days. So I know it's false this is a false belief of page 1 equality, that a boudoir photographer gets, 0 or 1 slots and that's it, because I went and did the opposite. So what I discovered was that Google actually give as many slots on page 1 as somebody wants to put in the effort to acquire. So, okay, now we can build a solution around this, and we've done that. See that in 2 pictures. Now, a boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer at DBP. And, if we got 0 slots on page 1, we're on page 2 or deeper, invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. Obviously, we're disappearing. But if we're on page 1, we got 1 slot, we're still basically invisible. It's basically disappearing and being price shopped against everyone. Both cases are bad. And we care about disappearing boudoir photographer because if we are a disappearing boudoir photographer, that means our, it's kind of like the warning light, the flashing check engine light, the warning signal saying, hey, our boudoir photography business itself is on the path to actually disappearing. But thankfully, we now have a solution. We've discovered through testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And S-cubed methodology, I mean, it works exactly as the name says. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. So we show up there when they search them. And when we do this, when we saturate social search, that's kind of like all the snow on the backside of the Andes Mountains, the east side, down in South America. That snow melts, goes into small streams, flows into small streams, small rivers. That's social search saturation. And then that all flows into the Amazon River. That's page one search on Google is the Amazon River. So it all starts with saturating social search. And the interesting thing about SQ methodology is it's the only thing that I've seen that can allow the boudoir photography business to continue to grow in the face of market saturation and even massive market saturation. The only other second thing that could allow that is having a large, well-known brand. So brand would obviously solve that, but that takes 5 to 10 years to acquire. We don't have 5 to 10 years. AI is here taking people's jobs. We need to dominate fast and fight against market saturation as fast as possible. And something I see that kind of looking at estimates here, I believe SQ methodology can actually help people build a brand actually approximately 8x faster than normal methods because we're showing up so frequently on so many different surfaces. So it's kind of like the only turbo brand builder boost thing out there. So imagine if you've got a large well-known brand and you're using SQ methodology, you're basically untouchable by market saturation. So an example of still growing in the face of market saturation, let's say we're in a boudoir. Let's say we're in, I want to go to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Let's say we're in Virginia Beach, Virginia. There's 1 million boudoir photographers there. Each boudoir photographer has their own website, and they shoot boudoir. Everyone's fighting for those 10 organic page one slots on Google. Massive competition. And what actually happens is we're like, man, the only way we can compete, well, if we had brand, but we ain't got that large, well-known brand. So the only other second option is we got to utilize SQ methodology. So we take it, we crank it up to the max. And when we crank it up to the max, let's say we're ranking for the first 300 slots for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords across all of social search. And when we do that, let's say that flows out onto Google, and we saturate the first 300 slots, page one first 300 slots of Google for those highest intent boudoir buyer searches. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google, so that means we're taking up literally the first 30 pages. And so for any boudoir buyers out there, anywhere they search, social search, Google search, we're basically the only boudoir photographer that pops up. We've literally taken all the slots from everyone else. This would be SQ methodology to the ultra super max. But if we're essentially the only one being found, whose business is growing? Ours, in the face of massive market saturation. Whose business is disappearing, slowing down, vanishing? Well, it's the 999,999 other boudoir photographers that can basically only be found Google page 31 or deeper. And we already know approximately 80% of searches never even hit page 2. So dude, who's actually going to page 31? Ain't nobody going to page 31. Now, once true with SQ methodology, we have page 1 visibility, P1V. So initial benefit, more slots, page 1 on Google. Second initial benefit is actually, we take those more slots on Google, we're actually kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1 and putting them on page 2 or deeper, effectively making them invisible. And when we do that, we actually turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, and eventually they'll most likely exit the market. So a lot of boudoir photographers actually get this benefit better than the first one we talked about. Now, page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So the GBC universe recommends, as a recommended minimum, of getting 3 out of 10 slots on Google page 1. And that's because if everyone else has got 1 slot, our 3 slots, we're going to dominate them, look way better. People wonder why Google's recommending us so much and be clicking through ours. And in the super rare case, someone else has 2 links. Well, guess what? We are, our 3 still looks better than there too. So we're basically dominating all scenarios here. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. We got a disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality, which now we know is false. And we now have a solution. We can utilize S-cube methodology to solve all this. Achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results, utilizing S-cube, purely utilizing S-cube methodology for myself. So I want to, frank for the term here, BLCS Boudoir, I want to dominate page one of Google, BLCS Boudoir. So I utilize S-cube methodology, started with 0 out of 10 links on page one of Google. Now let's see what I was able to get to. So we got organic, slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So I was able to go from 0 out of 10 slots page one on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page one on Google in only 10 days. And these are my results I got purely using S-cubed methodology. Now, onto the main event here. We're going to see if this boudoir photography business, see if it's got BSS for its local or its city search, see if it's hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google. So let's get into this. So we're going to Germantown, Tennessee, and Memphis, Tennessee. All right, so what we got here. We're in Germantown, Tennessee. All right, let's see what we got. All right, we got 1. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 for local search. Let's go to city. City is always harder to rank for. It's more people competing. Oh, nice. We got organic slot 1. That's great. So we got 1 out of 10. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 here. We got 1 out of 10 for local. We got 1 out of 10 for Memphis. So yeah, we got BSS for both, and we are hitting the GBC universe recommended minimum. 3 out of 10. Neither of those searches. So, all right, so if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, meaning you've gone to do the local search and the city search with the highest intent boudoir by your keywords, and you either got BSS for one of those searches or you're not reaching the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one Google slots. So you know you're a disappearing boudoir photographer, which now you know. Yeah, it's kind of the warning light, canary in the coal mine to eventually disappear in boudoir photography business. And you understand page one equalities, the false belief page one equality is exactly that, a false belief. And so you're kind of broken out of the mind cage. You're like, all right, we can take as many page one slots on Google as we want. So I've decided I'm going to put in the effort to do that. And so you're seeing S-cubed methodology is the exact solution you've been looking for. And you also understand, the market saturation is kind of natural as people get new gear, more boudoir photographer sellers for the same number of competing for the same number of buyers. And as a result, you are you're liking the initial benefit of more page one slots on Google. You're definitely liking the second initial benefit of basically of more peeps being kicked off page one on Google. And as a result, you're liking those initial benefits, and then you actually are thinking ahead to some future benefits, which is, man, AI is going to be taking so many people's jobs, and that's actually going to be the largest bringer of boudoir photographers into the market, massively increasing the number of sellers. And you're like, all right, I actually got a third benefit. I need to basically fortify my position on Google page one. I need to have so many links on page one, Google can't even fit them there. And Google's like, hold my links in backup to be on page one because I got too many links that could and should be ranking on page one to prevent any of these AI forced people who are losing their jobs that become boudoir photographers to ever even get on page one. Kind of like fortifying the levees in Nolens, Louisiana, because that city is below sea level. So you're seeing kind of future benefit. S-cube's methodology is the only thing I can give that benefit. And you're also seeing that the other future benefits, basically, as we do S-cube methodology for more and more keywords, we're building up these invisible thematic keyword columns around our brand, around our business. And when we do that, it's kind of like, columns at the Parthenon in Athens, or like think of like our business, our brand name as kind of the hub out on the internet, and then all these spokes, kind of like a bicycle wheel, going into the hub or coming out of the hub. It's basically building up AI mindshare for those thematic keywords, where it's looking at repetition, relevance, frequency, age, authority. How long we've been associated with these keywords, how many times, where we're ranking. And every day we successfully execute SQ methodology, we're actually increasing the probability of being recommended up here up top with the AI overview. And when we successfully rank for the AI overview, we are we're actually able, higher chance of getting this premium slot. Can't even pay for the slot with ads, this AI overview slot. And I believe it's only one person showing at a time here. And so that's a future benefit. Also, in the same breath, we're increasing the probability that we get recommended AI search, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability AI search recommends us. And yeah, Google search is still approximately 90% of global search. But dude, AI search is growing literally every single day. And as a result, we are increasing chance to get recommended there. Last time I used AI search to search for a boudoir photographer in the city was it gave me 3. This is ChatGPT. It gave me 3. Then I went kind of like manually search, on Google, Facebook, and it turns out there was like 60. So I'm like, man, we gotta find a way to get in these 3 slots in kind of like any way possible. And so you're liking that future benefit. You're also liking that my plan right now is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. So you're seeing that since you've decided to be a first mover and hop on this, you can actually prevent all your competitors from using this strategy. And because of that, you'll be able to get like massive momentum, page 1 slots, kicking them off page 1, massive fortification momentum, massive back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keywords being, basically plugged into your brand and growing that AI mindshare, increasing probability of AI search overview and AI search recommendation you showing up for, and basically building a gap so big none of your current competitors can catch it, nor any new entrants coming from AI taking people's jobs can catch it. And conversely, you're saying that if one of your competitors were, to start working with me and use the strategy first in your same city, then they would get all those benefits. We'd be building up a massive gap with them, with AI mindshare against you, kicking your links off page 1 of Google, and you would actually have to, then go and rederive SQ methodology for yourself, derive it the first time, then go execute it every single day correctly. And then once you do that, you would actually, if you equaled our output, you would literally be maintaining the gap with me and your competitor had already built against you. So you'd actually have to like double or triple our output in order to, basically in order to close the gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare from me and your competitor back over to you. But how's one gonna do 2 to 3x the effort when they aren't even 100% confident they've derived SQ methodology correctly in the first place? It's even worth investing all that time. So you've decided, screw it. I ain't missing this chance. I ain't missing this opportunity. I'm simply going to be the first mover and get rolling. So if that's you, shoot me a DM. My DMs are currently closed. The hospital is not currently accepting new patients. But when we do open the hospital for new patient intake, shoot us a DM and we will see if you qualify to utilize our S-cubed methodology.